Hello, my name is Peter Bricks. I'm a debtor bankruptcy attorney who files individual Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 cases. I have an office in Atlanta as well as one in Jonesboro and Cumming. We're going to talk about bankruptcy and divorce today. First, let me read you this disclaimer. We're a debt relief agency proudly assisting consumers in filing bankruptcy under the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. There is no attorney-client relationship with the viewer of this message unless there's a fee agreement. We would have to meet with you individually to offer you applicable and accurate legal advice. This is intended only for educational purposes. Today we're talking about bankruptcy and divorce. So several questions here. That's just a generic term, but what way are we talking about divorce? Is the debtor who is going to file bankruptcy already divorced, or is the debtor contemplating divorce? So let's talk first about the debtor who's already divorced. Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, if the debtor's already divorced, Chapter 7 is not going to get rid of any of the domestic support obligations nor the property settlement obligation. So if the debtor owes it, it's a debt the debtor owes when they file Chapter 7. It's a debt the debtor owes after they file Chapter 7. Now the other question to ask is, or let's compare that to Chapter 13, where the debtor for a domestic support obligation, the debtor still has to pay that. So child support, alimony, the debtors now not only, unlike Chapter 7 where the debt just survives the bankruptcy, in Chapter 13 now the debtor now needs to pay the arrears off at 100% over the lifetime of the plan. Additionally, the debtor needs to maintain the current monthly obligation. So the debtor will never get their Chapter 13 confirmed unless they're showing they're making their monthly obligations after the case is filed up to confirmation. Additionally, this could vary by your jurisdiction, but you probably have something in your jurisdiction where the debtor is going to have to prove they're current to get the discharge in the end. So the debtor can't just make good on the payments up to confirmation, and then once confirmation is say, you know what, I'm not paying anymore. Debtor's going to need to maintain to pay on that. Property settlement is going to be treated differently as a general rule in Chapter 13 versus Chapter 7. This probably, I can't say with 100% certainty, it could vary by your district, but generally speaking, you're going to be able to treat a property settlement debt as an unsecured debt as opposed to the support obligation. So now if the debtor's paying the unsecured creditors at 100%, that won't really matter much, but if the debtor's paying the unsecureds at less than 100%, you can see a difference there where the debtor, therefore, even though the support obligation needs to be paid at 100%, the property settlement doesn't. So there you have a difference. Now let's take the scenario where the debtor is still married and is contemplating divorce prior to filing bankruptcy. I would say, as a general, bad idea to file Chapter 13 with someone you're going to divorce. Chapter 13 lasts 36 to 60 months. That really is a conflict of interest for the attorney to represent you both. Theoretically, y'all could both waive the conflict, but too many issues are going to emerge where if the attorney's aware going in that you two are divorcing, I don't really see any attorney taking that case. You're going to each need to have your own bankruptcy attorneys. Additionally, you really should file your separate cases. With Chapter 7, that's a little different. Chapter 7 is a liquidation. A typical case could last around 4 months. Sometimes debtors, because you can't file together once you're no longer married, so sometimes debtors will file together before they're divorced and save some costs. The attorney's fees for a joint case would be cheaper than two individual filings. The court costs $306. They'd only have to pay it once as opposed to each paying it. There might be some strategic reasons to file it together as opposed to each filing it separately. The debtors are going to want to consider that prior to divorce. A Chapter 7 prior to divorce is a lot simpler than entering into a 13 and then getting divorced. So that covers bankruptcy and divorce.